In the old days, old days, there was a warrior who had a best friend. This best friend of his was a dog. He named him Taz. These two went everywhere together. They were inseparable. But as time would have it, this warrior would get called off to war from time to time, and the dog would follow him out of the castle, out into the courtyard, past the threshold, to the crossroads, and he would leave Taz at the crossroads to go off for war. And no matter if he was gone for a month, 3 months, 6 months, every time he came back from war to the crossroad, he saw his dog, Taz, there, his best friend. One time, he took a wife who bore him a child, and he had to go away to war. He came back one time, and he didn't see Taz at the crossroads. And that was strange. So he goes through the threshold into the courtyard, and there he sees Taz. But something is wrong with Taz. He's on the ground, he's not really moving, and he's low to the ground. And there's this weird color to his fur. Taz leads him into the courtyard, into the castle, into a room where the bassinet was at for the baby. And there's blood all around the bassinet. The warrior knows exactly what happened. He takes his sword and he kills his best friend Taz. And then he hears a noise. He lifts the lid of the bassinet, and there he sees his infant baby, alive and well. And next to the bassinet, there's a rabid wolf that Taz had killed. He drops his sword, never picks it up again. He picks up Taz, he takes Taz out to the courtyard, past the threshold, to the crossroads, and he buries him. He builds a nice monument for his best friend. And every day for the rest of his life, he goes out to the crossroads and he asks his friend for forgiveness. The sword of justice has the ability to save the innocent when used with care and responsibility. When used recklessly, it has the ability to harm the innocent. Alicia Andrews is innocent of every count, every lesser included, every crime that she is on trial for today. Perception is not reality. The perception of the detectives in this case was certainly not reality. The state sees Alicia as some gangster queen pin. They see her as someone who has red hair, bright red hair, bad tattoos, who hangs out with gang bangers, gang members, gang associates, an individual who's cold and heartless. But perception is not reality. What do you see? Alicia Andrews is an individual, a young individual, a young woman. She's well-spoken, she's mild-mannered, she's brave, she's strong, and she's a respectable young woman, as you saw when she took the stand. She is not a gang member. She is not a gang associate. And that was clear from the evidence in this case, from every detective that testified. The Jacksonville sheriff's officers testified. She is not a gang member. She is not a gang associate. She isn't. It doesn't matter how many pictures they show, the state shows, right? In fact, I love this exhibit. I love this exhibit. I love this exhibit. I love this exhibit. I love these exhibits from 2021. And why do we love these exhibits? Because they embody exactly what the state's case has been about. Absolutely nothing. All of the evidence, now most of it, of this evidence has been about a gang war in Jacksonville for which Alicia Andrews does not take any part in. 98% of the evidence in this case that you saw over the last 2 weeks has to do with all of these individuals, whether it be Quan, whether it be Young and Ace, whether it be 6 Block, whether it be 1200, 2100. You've learned about where Jacksonville gangs live, whether it's on the north side, the east side. You've learned all of these things, certainly beyond a reasonable doubt that there are gangs in Jacksonville, that they kill each other, that they rap about killing each other, but you have not learned a single thing about whether Alicia Andrews intended to kill Charles Jones. From the start of this case, the defense never said anything about a romantic getaway with Alicia Andrews. The word romance never came from the defense. It came from Detective Ramos's perception of what Alicia Andrews told him.
All right, so that comment is a bit problematic because he is opining as to what the perception of the detective was. Right there, the judge actually, you didn't get to hear it, but calls for a sidebar, calls him over to the desk. Once that little sidebar is over, she reminds the jury that what lawyers say is not actual evidence, right? They're presenting to you their case in the beginning. They tell you what they're going to show you. At the end, they tell you what they think the evidence did show you, and that's what he's doing now, but it's not evidence itself. All right, it was a quick sidebar. They're done with it. Let's get back into court.
I want to start from the beginning. Alicia Andrews was asked by her boyfriend to inquire about an Airbnb. He doesn't say to her, Alicia, I need you to figure out about an Airbnb so that we can go to Tampa and we can kill Julio Foolio. He doesn't say, Alicia, I need you to go and inquire about an Airbnb so that me and 3 of my friends and you can all go hang out in the Airbnb. He doesn't give her any extra information. Sort of similar to how Sean Gathright was not giving Kyla Enright any extra information. No context. That's not how these individuals operate. He just asked her to inquire about an Airbnb, and innocently, Alicia Andrews does that. She gets on Instagram, she sends a text message to someone she knows and asks, do you have an Airbnb available? And the person says to Alicia Andrews, what day do you want the Airbnb for? And Alicia Andrews, not knowing that this is some murder plot, says, the 23rd, or what day do you have available? The first indication that she has no idea that she has to be in Tampa on the 23rd for Julio Foolio. Or else she would not be telling the person that she's inquiring whatever day you have available, or what days do you have available. The first indication, from the very first piece of evidence that the state has. If the detectives did not have this perception of Alicia Andrews that was flawed, maybe that would have been the first indication that she's innocent, that she did not know what was happening. The second indication, from that same transaction, is that Alicia Andrews never pressed the issue with this person. In fact, Isaiah Chance and Rashad Murphy, off in their own world, got impatient. And they went ahead and booked the Airbnb without Alicia, because Alicia is not in the group. And because, like we said in opening statement, Alicia is not in the loop. Simple. The next thing that happens is that on the morning of the trip, what happens? Sean Gathright, Isaiah Chance, they're at Sean Gathwright's home. Where's Alicia? Not with the group. Not in the loop. Alicia Andrews is at home, doing whatever she's doing at home. Isaiah Chance gets to Sean Gathwright's house. You can see he has a gun. You can see he gets out of the car with the gun. He puts it in his waistband. He goes inside the house. He and Sean Gathright begin to pack the bags, moving bags from car to inside the house, or from car to car. They're moving the bags, shuffling the bags, hours worth of work, packing, get ready to go. It's only then, after they've done what they're conspiring to do, that they then go and pick up Alicia Andrews. She's not around them to know what they're doing, what they're planning, what they're discussing. She's not. It's simple. That's on camera. Thank the detectives for bringing you that footage. Because if we didn't have it, I wouldn't be able to sit here and tell you that. So Alicia Andrews comes to Sean Gathwright's home. When she gets to Sean Gathwright's home, she doesn't go inside and say hi to him.
All right, certainly a different perspective on the evidence, and we need to pause it right there. But first, I have a quick programming note for you folks. In the murder of Julio Foolio trial, prosecutors call it a gang hit, of course. The defense says that she's innocent, didn't know anything about what was going on. Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas breaks down the case against Alicia Andrews in the murder of Julio Foolio. Watch the latest episode of On the Record now at courttv.com under the Shows tab, or you can catch it on YouTube at Court TV. All right, we'll take a break. We'll be right back with more. Keep it here on Court TV.
6-year-old shot his teacher.
Their side battling that it is part of the job, just outrageous.
The first grader shoots teacher civil trial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, Samantha Booth cared for a little girl for 2 years. Now she's charged with killing the girl's grandfather. We're diving deeper into this shocking case.
Closing Arguments tonight at 8, 7 Central, only on Court TV.
All right, folks, before we get back to court, I want to bring in my guest for this hour. Joining us to discuss is criminal defense and former prosecutor Marie Pereira. Marie, great to see you on this Friday, as always. So your girl, she took the stand today. She got on the stand. She told her story. She played the part well. I thought she handled cross-examination fairly well. While some of her story didn't sort of add up, I'm still sort of unsure whether that was the right choice. What did you think of her time on the stand, and was it the right choice?
I think it was the right choice, because if she's claiming that she was just merely present and she didn't participate, she needed to explain herself. Because basically, the prosecutors are accusing her of being a WAP. And when I say WAP, I mean a willing, active participant in this conspiracy to commit murder. That she knew about it, she helped them do it, and even if she didn't pull the trigger, her assistance was enough to deem her part of the conspiracy. And now her attorneys now are claiming, no, mere presence is not participation. This is a young lady who suffered abuse at the hands of one of the defendants, and she was just there. She didn't know what was going on. She didn't plan it. There was no meeting of the minds, and she cannot be found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of first-degree murder. This is not a slam dunk for either one of them, because while she looks innocent, she could be one that had deadly plans with her pretty face. I thought she looked cocky up on the stand. I thought she was a little belligerent. And throughout the trial, she just looks like, I'm so cute, They are never going to think that I could do something like that. And the fact that she still talks to him against the advice of her lawyers could play both ways. She could be claiming, oh, I'm so scared because he got people out here in these streets, so I'm just pretending to go along, or that's my man and I'm sticking to it. It could go either way for her.
Young love, Marie, young love. You just got to look at it. But no, on a serious note, one of the things that the prosecutor is claiming, there has to be this meeting of the minds, right? And one of the things that the prosecutor said that I struggled with a little bit, she said, you know, the reason why we know there had to be this conspiracy, this meeting of the minds, is because of how coordinated it was. You know, she said, these meetings took place. Common sense tells you these meetings took place. Yeah, they do. But they don't quite tell me that she was involved from that point. She certainly was there in Tampa. But as far as the meeting, setting this all up, there really was no clear evidence of that. What do you make of that?
And that's the problem. That's why I said it's not a slam dunk, because mere presence is not participation, knowledge, pre-planning, and premeditation, right? It could be, I was in the car, this happened, oh my God, I'm scared. What am I going to do? Call the police? The fact that she still talks to him could work in her favor. And she knows the call is being recorded. She's scared. She was scared then. She is now. She was just in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong dude. It could work for her. And she looks so innocent too.
She does, but I agree with what you're saying. But you mentioned earlier she was a bit cocky. She was a bit cocky throughout the trial, sitting there. She was cocky on the stand. Doesn't lend to this idea that she was afraid of this guy. And a lot of the texts between them don't lend to that sort of interpretation of her as a person as well. But again, we shall see. Marie, stand by. I want to head back to court now for more of these closing arguments. And again, we're listening to the defense.
So anyone who's inside, she doesn't do any of that. She waits in the car, like Isaiah Chance tells her to do. She waits there until the other car pulls up. She gets out of one car, she gets in another, and then she takes off. Mind you, this is the third car that she's been in for that day, the third one, because the first car was from her home to the place where Isaiah Chance picked her up. The second was Isaiah Chance's BMW to the home. And the third is this Impala that she's not familiar with to get down to Tampa. She gets to Tampa with her boyfriend and with Sean Gathright. And at that time, as the evidence is clear, there is no Rashad Murphy, there is no Davion Murphy at the Airbnb. At the Airbnb. So she goes inside of the Airbnb, and we'll reverse a little bit about that whole front door, back door issue. But she goes inside, and Davion Murphy and Rashad Murphy are not there yet. They're just not. And when she's asked about whether they're there when she gets there, and she says no, it's the truth, by their own data. She goes upstairs, and she's in the room. And at some point in time, these four men, they leave her at the Airbnb, and they go on their own mission, leaving her out of this group, out of the loop. So they leave her at the Airbnb, and she's not being texted to find out where Julio Foolio is. They're not asking her to DM Julio Foolio. There's no efforts by Alicia Andrews to reach out to anyone to figure out where Julio Foolio is, where his crew is at, where he might be partying, nothing like that. Alicia Andrews is back at the Airbnb looking for food after she was abandoned by her boyfriend. Looking for Pizza Hut, which she can barely afford, and then ultimately has to settle for McDonald's. So we'll talk about Alicia Andrews' arrival at the Airbnb for a little bit.
In order to get in, you have to put in a code, and that code gets tracked on the app. I spoke to the owner.
The detectives in this case were sure, 100% sure, that Alicia Andrews opened that front door with a code and let everyone else in through the back. Because as their theory, their perception would have it, is that Alicia Andrews is the cover for them. And so that was their perception, and so every piece of evidence that they looked at after that had to be that way. So this first piece of evidence, they see Alicia Andrews on the camera at the Airbnb, and they say, well, the reason why she's the only one on camera is because she opened the door and she let everyone else in through the back. And what kind of sense would it make if everyone is involved, everyone's conspiring together? What kind of sense would it make for Alicia Andrews to know that there's a camera at the front door and for her to sacrifice herself for a group of men that she's never even met before? To go to the front door of the Airbnb, stare the camera in the face, and put her identity out there. What kind of sense would that make? It would not make any sense. Alicia Andrews is not even concerned with the camera. You can see that from the video. You can see it. She doesn't look at the camera. She's not staring it down. She's not worried about it.
In the car, you don't remember, and then you took it over?
I'll tell you, I follow him.
Okay. And in order to get in, you have to put in a code, and that code gets tracked on the app. I spoke to the owner of the Airbnb. Nobody else went in. How did they get in?
Did you let him in another door?
Is it possible you could have opened the back door?
No.
What did Detective Ramos say? He said he spoke to the owner of the Airbnb. And so he's confident that he knows what he's talking about because he spoke to the owner. We spoke to the owner as well in court.
All right, we do need to take a break, folks. When we come back, we'll hear more of the defense's closing arguments. So keep it here on Court TV Live. Court TV Live, I'm Michael Ayala. Accused killer Alicia Andrews will soon learn her fate in the murder of Julio Foolio trial in Florida. She testified earlier today. She tried to convince this jury that she had nothing to do with the killing of the rapper. And she told the jury about the domestic violence that she endured while with her boyfriend, Isaiah Chance, who, by the way, is also one of the other 4 co-defendants charged in the case. Right now, closing arguments are still underway. I want to get you back inside the courtroom where we've been listening to the defense.
And after he actually spoke to the owner, after he actually got the log in this case, the log, after he actually received it, a month or 2 prior to trial, you can't remember the date, he then realized that he was wrong. But that's not the only thing that Detective Ramos has been wrong about. It's not the only thing that the state has been wrong about in this case. But with the information that he did not have, with the video that he did have, he arrested Alicia Andrews on bad information. Without the log, without it, it is so evident that just by looking at the camera, Alicia Andrews never put in any code. It's evident because she knocks on the door. Why would Alicia Andrews knock on the door if she was the first person there and she had some code to put in to the Airbnb? She wouldn't. She would put in the code. She didn't put in a code because she knew somebody was already inside. So without the locking log, the Detective Ramos, should have known that there's no way that she was putting in a code to get in that front door because it's on video. But his perception led him down a different road. His perception was not reality. The door, as you can see, hinge opens. She goes in and someone's inside says, "My bad." But it wasn't until a month before trial that Detective Ramos realized he messed up. There's conversation, argument from the state that because Alicia Andrews didn't park in those two front parking spaces in front of the Airbnb, that's some consciousness of guilt. First off, Alicia Andrews is not driving the car. She's not driving the vehicle. Much less does Alicia Andrews know which parking spots are assigned to the Airbnb unit, if they are even assigned. We heard no evidence that the parking spaces at the Airbnb are assigned to anyone, that those two spaces in front of it, right in front, are particularly for the individuals that rent that Airbnb. There's no evidence of that. Don't forget that. And she's not driving the car. So if Isaiah Chance or Sean Gathright parks on the side of the home, the Airbnb, she's going along with what they're doing. She's not going to tell them to park around the side. She doesn't even know where the door is until she's told where it's at. So, speed up. They leave the Airbnb. When I say they, I mean the four men. They leave the Airbnb, leave Alicia inside. When they don't see any sign or trace of Julio Foolio at Teasers, what do? Here comes Sean Gathright. Sean Gathright says, "I am going to text Kyla Enright, my girlfriend, and I'm going to see if she can get me the location for Julio Foolio." This is part 2 of their plan, or plan B. It's clear, because if Kyla Enright was a part of their plan the entire time, she would have been on point before they got there. It's clear that he's pivoting. He says, "I need y'all, text Fat Boy." Kyla Enright says, "About what?" If she was in on any plan, if she had any idea what was going down, she wouldn't be asking him about what. He says, "Hey, sis, I need you to text Fat Boy and tell him you're trying to pull up and you're trying to see him tonight." This is not a well thought out, orchestrated plan that the state would have you believe. These individuals are just flying by it, just trying to figure it out as they go. He know I'm gone. I've been FaceTiming him while I'm out. Sean Gathright says he in Tampa right now, but make it seem like you don't know he here or there. He at a B&B with 6. Be like, "Where you at? I want to pull up. I'm drunk." Then he says, "Never mind," at 12:39, for whatever reason. He's texting her these things.
All right, folks, we'll take a break here. Coming up, the state gives its rebuttal argument in the murder of Julio Foolio trial.